Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tea with Z. My name is Zamel Salagi, and I'm joined by a very special guest just hiding back there. I don't know if you can see her at the moment. Today on this episode, so it's an absolute pleasure to be joining each and every one of you. And if you are watching live, give me some likes, give me some hearts, because the amazing energy that each and every one of you deliver to me each and every morning is so awesome. And the energy that I can give back to you as well is that's what it's all about. Special shout out to those that are joining us from the Limitless Network. The Limitless Network, as you know, is a group of like-minded people that value health in any way, shape, or form. Just pretty much a community get together and share information and knowledge. Now, if you haven't gotten your cuppa, your tea, your coffee, or whatever it is this morning, go and grab that because we're about to jump into it. And to sort of continue on with the theme of this week, because as you know, tomorrow in Brisbane's where I'm based, there's a public holiday. And as a result of that, there's the shorter, normal working week for many. This obviously has, drives around some fears, some anxiety, some concerns about their ability to access health services, particularly in, even in pharmacy, where we see that people, I guess might start to emulate on a smaller scale what we've seen during the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's around panic buying. And we've seen all along, and I've mentioned this throughout this week, is that panic buying, in my opinion, isn't anything new. It's been around for quite a period of time. And as a result of that, what I really wanted to do to touch base today is, really dive into sort of our role as health entrepreneurs to help alleviate some of the psychological causes of panic buying following not only a health crisis, but any other perceived crisis that might lead them to undertake that sort of behavior. Because we look at public holidays, and public holidays are, just one day of the week where a lot of businesses close, but a lot of actually businesses stay open. I know the majority of health related businesses now do open and operate on many public holidays. But what we still see is that surge of customers, patients, and consumers before, and that surge of them after, uh, to utilize the service available or to seek products or medications. And, I wanted to really touch base and just to sort of see, because there's been so much research now done because of the psychological behaviors emulated by us as a society during the COVID-19 pandemic. We've seen it on all of the media, and I've spoken about it a lot this week. But when you look at all of the reviews and information that's been identified, it really comes back to our primal needs to survive. Our primal needs to survive, and the perception of individuals to understand, well, I guess the perception of individuals to that actually quantifies what survival means to them and how to protect it. Because at the end of the day, not everybody panic bought. Not everybody, sees a public holiday and, runs to the shops and, buys up before that public holiday or buys up after that public holiday. Not everybody does that, but, obviously there's a large group of individuals that do. And as a result of that, there's this perception of scarcity that, things might run out, I might be able to miss out. There's that sense of urgency. There's also this fear of the unknown, and even though we know that a public holiday, the next day, if we do close, well, the next day we're going to be open. But there is some sort of intrinsic coding within these individuals that actually is wired them to believe that we might not reopen. And as a result, which perpetuates a sense of negativity and uncertainty. We also look at, I guess, and the research tells us that there's coping behaviors which view panic buying as a way to resolve and reduce the anxiety and fears around it. And so when we look at that, when we look at panic buying as a whole, if we're using it to resolve our fears and anxiety, well, then how are we actually doing that? Now, like, is that actually beneficial to us? Because if we're trying to seek a level of control through panic, to me that's quite, quite an oxymoron, because at the end of the day, if we're trying to seek control, but as we discussed yesterday, in a panic state, we're not making rational thoughts and decisions. We're actually starving our neocortex and our prefrontal cortex from making rational decisions. If we're doing that, then how can we effectively regain control over what we perceive to be a crisis? And the final point is our social environment, because at the end of the day, we are herd animals. And as a result of that, if our social groups are panic buying, we intrinsically feel pressured. We intrinsically feel panicked, because that level of anxiety and awareness has elevated amongst those closest to us. And when you look at the impacts of our social communities, and if our communities, and we look at social media, the algorithms within it are geared to create what is called comparison bias. Comparison bias is, and we've spoken about this before in other episodes of T with Z, comparison bias is, I guess, the willingness to believe or to form a bias on a point of view based on my own coding, my own information, and regardless of whatever information I present to you, whatever evidence I present to you that would contradict that bias or contradict that perception, you'll then steer to find information that still supports your viewpoint, regardless of all of the other information presented. And when that translates to us from a social setting, if others around us are panicking, if there's high levels of anxiety or anxiousness or fear or worry, that's going to translate into us. And so, as a result, as a community and as health entrepreneurs, we ourselves create communities. We ourselves have an impact on the communities that we serve. So, my question for you today is, how can we address the psychological factors behind the panic, the fear, and the anxiety that comes around these fears? That comes around, the fear of being closed, the fear of scarcity, that sense of urgency. How can we alleviate these concerns? And you've probably seen quite a big trending theme this week, because at the end of the day, a lot of this is quite intermingled, and Jan, special shout out to Jan. Jan touched on the fact that, yeah, we can educate our customers before these events happening. We start priming them with information long before and empowering them with information to make decisions that are fully informed. And Sarah's there giving Jan a shout out as well. So at the end of the day, hi Jan from Sarah. So at the end of the day, how can we as health entrepreneurs go above and beyond that to not only educate the individual patients within that come within our doors, but within our communities, within those social groups, to help disrupt these levels of anxiety, these fears, these worries from escalating and from manifesting and spreading amongst our communities, which results in this panic. So that's my question to you today, because we know what these psychological drivers are. And the reason why I bring this up is, you look at anxieties, fears, worries, concerns. Look at all of the patients that we treat for these conditions, like for these challenges that they face within their lives. As health entrepreneurs, we face this every single day, yet they're labeled in different ways. There's a medical diagnosis associating them to label them as anxious or nervous or whatever that might look like. But at the end of the day, those without the labels are still potentially presenting with these behaviors. And so what I'm sort of asking is, well, how can we just normalize this? How can we, without the labels, removing the labels, know that humans are humans, and on a reptilian level, that reptilian brain level, there's either the fight or the flight, the fear or the safe. And so down to that basic level there, how can we empower our communities and normalize these conversations? So that's it from me today. I really look forward to seeing your comments in the comment section below, because at the end of the day, the more that we bring this up to the surface and the more that we can normalize these conversations, the more power that we're going to have to alleviate these concerns and worries within our society, to work with those that are worried, have these, anxiousness, these feelings, these emotions, and removing all the stigmas, removing all the labels, removing all the judgment, going, well, how can we address the psychological causes of them in a really constructive and cohesive manner? Because as health entrepreneurs, it is our role to improve the lives and well-being of everyone within our communities. And at the end of the day, that is our role. That's our role. So how can we do that broader without, having to worry about those labels and that fear of judgment? So that's it from me today. Let's see your comment section Let's see your comments in the comment section below, because I really am excited to see what you do, but how you can start having this conversation amongst your own friends, your family, your social groups, your community, your colleagues as well. Because if we are social beings, by normalizing these conversations rather than placing it in judgment, then we can then help to grow as a society, because this is only going the pandemic is far from over, but like I mentioned previously, the pandemic of social fears and anxiety is only beginning, and has only become really profound because we can spread this information, we can share these anxieties, we can share these fears like we've never done before. And so as a community of health entrepreneurs, how can we do this? We value health. How can we help to normalize these conversations? So that's it from me today. And speaking of communities of people that value health, once again, please join the Limitless Network. Encourage your friends, your family, your colleagues. There's one way you can take action. You can take action to help people in your groups, in your society, in your community, your patients, your consumers. Send them this. If you are a health business, if you're any health business and want to start creating and working collaboratively together to create a community, well, here's one to join. That's all it is. It's just a community. Because I'm sure that there's so many people that will benefit from this. Just these conversations, just to hear that, look, they don't have to be judged. That there's normal, down to an intrinsic level, there are psychological and biological reasons behind the way in which we act. And so I really look forward to, seeing what you do to take action to help those people without labeling and judging. So that's it from me today. Have an absolutely amazing day. I look forward to catching up as well exclusively for another episode of Tea with Z tomorrow in the Limitless Network. But that's it from me today. Have an amazing day. Stay safe, stay well, and I look forward to catching you then. Bye for now.